logic board is out. That looks lovely. This looks like crap.
Winner, winner, chicken dinner. Hi, welcome to the MBK Upcycle Lab. We're going to replace the whole keyboard assembly today in a MacBook Air. This covers the A1369 and A1466, basically Airs from 2010 to 2017, but we're going to do something slightly different this morning. We're going to spend that extra 10 minutes and remove all the rivets. And we're going to do it using this tool, so the job is done properly, not half-assed. We'll be doing a full strip down of the chassis, but we have also done a quick and dirty version of this video. If you're at the keyboard extraction level now, that link is in the description down below. Otherwise, let's get started. First of all, we have to take off this bottom plate. You are going to need a Pentalobe screwdriver 1.2. So what we'll do is we'll take out all these screws. These two are long and all the rest are short. Let's get going. Next, we have to take out our battery, and we will need a Torx T5 screwdriver for this. We have to take out our 5 screws, 3 of them being long, which is this one, this one, this one, and the last 2 being short, which is this one and this one. So let's take the battery screws out. We next disconnect our battery connector here, and we'll have a look at that under the microscope. And our battery connector can be disconnected by grabbing hold of this tab here at the very back and then pulling backwards. And then our battery can be lifted out and put aside. Next, we'll take out our solid state drive here. We're going to need the Torx T5 again. We'll just remove this screw at the very end. And we give the solid state drive a slight lift, and then we pull backwards. We'll remove the Wi-Fi card now, which is located here. And on the end of the Wi-Fi card, we have coaxial cables located here and here, and we have to pop those up. It's gone, and that's gone. Then we go back to our T5 screwdriver. We remove the screw. We give our Wi-Fi card a slight lift, and again we give it a pull backwards. Next, we'll remove this jumper cable here, put our spudger underneath, pry up both ends. Now we're just going to move around the board and knock out a few of these connectors. And we'll do that under the microscope, starting in this corner here. This is our connector for our screen, and we will just flick that backwards and then gently pull back on the connector. Next is our speaker, spudger underneath, and this will flick straight up. Next is the keyboard backlight. Flick up our connector, and this cable should just pop straight out. The one after that is the keyboard mouse. Flick up, and then this should naturally pull backwards. We next do these three cables here in the top left corner. So we'll pop out this one first, release our lock, and our little ribbon should pop out. And then we get our pliers and then pull this connector out here. And then we come around from the other side and we get our camera connector and then pull that straight back. We next take out our fan assembly. We're going to need the T5 Torx again. We'll take out our 3 screws, one here, and then one hidden up the back. So we'll start with our shortest screw first. Then the one up the back, which is slightly longer. And the one over here, which has a thicker head. Then our fan unit should just lift up and away. We now start ripping out all our logic board screws, starting with this one here. Then this one here. Then these two. Then these two. We have a special little screw in here to secure the heatsink to the chassis. So what we have to do is pull up the coax cable and pull that cable away to the left. And with that coax pulled away to the left, we can access this screw safely. And then all we have to do is give the board a gentle lift and tilt it back slightly and remove the whole board assembly. We next remove the DCE board here. So we'll just pull these cables out of the way. Move our camera cable. This is our speaker cable here. So we'll put the spudger up underneath. Break him away. We have another ribbon cable, so we just unlock the mechanism like that. Pull out our ribbon cable. Back in with the T5. Remove this screw here. And this board should just lift up and break away. We then get a metal spudger, jam it underneath our left speaker and gently twist and pry up that left speaker. And then we do exactly the same thing with the right speaker. With our metal spudger, jam it underneath and lift the assembly out. Now we have to detach the keyboard and mouse unit, and we'll knock out these two ribbon cables here. We pry up our connector up the back here, and then pull this cable straight out. This one's a little bit more tricky. We pull it away and then put our spudger in and release the bar here. And then this cable will just come straight out. The next step is to remove the backlight here. That's this black bit of plastic. From here the actual light shines through underneath the keyboard, so the actual keys light up. We need to work our way around and just gently release all these black tabs around the side. For this job you will need a heat gun, or if you haven't got a heat gun, a hairdryer will suffice. And we're going to start in this corner here. It's just a matter of heating up the plastic in the general area, and then using our tweezers to break that bond between the plastic and the aluminium, being careful not to tear this thin plastic sheeting here. Now if you've buggered up and you've accidentally torn through here, this is only very thin plastic. You can actually fix that with electrical tape when reapplying the backlight itself. So let's rip it off and see what's underneath. We next remove this plastic membrane here. So we may have to heat this up quickly. Then all we have to do is pick up one corner, gently lift, pull this plastic membrane back, just being very careful. And we are now down to the keyboard level. Right, what we need to do now is we need to remove all 40 screws around the outside of the keyboard, and then we'll be moving on to a little bit over 60 rivets on the inside of the keyboard. So we'll make a start in this corner over here, and for this job you need a Phillips 000 screwdriver, and we'll just work on our first screw here, anti-clockwise as usual, and it should just come straight out. The next step is we're going to rip out this field of rivets here, but we only have to pop one in every two. So we pop one, skip the next one, and then pop the next one. It just makes the job a little bit easier, ripping out the keyboard in about 5 or 10 minutes. We're going to be using a special tool to crack the heads of the rivets, and this is a 2.5 millimeter flat screwdriver. You can see that here, and we're just going to be jimmying up and cracking the head of the rivets, and we'll have a look at that under the microscope. This is our first rivet here, and all we have to do is get our flat screwdriver in, get it in an angle, and then jam it in right next to the rivet, and then give it a good old twist and pop the head just like that. We skip this rivet here, and then we move on to the next one. Again, just get our screwdriver in the side, slight twist, and pop that head. Get some tape and put it on the back of the keyboard, just covering up all those areas where you see rivets. The next thing we're going to do is rip the keyboard out. So open up your MacBook and you'll see the screen there. We don't want to damage that, so put your MacBook on the edge of your bench, like so, and let the screen flop over the edge down here, and then hold down with your left hand, and with your right just peel the keyboard up and just gently rip it backwards. We have to rip out the remaining rivets here, and for that we're going to need a special tool. We're going to need a automatic center punch. Here's the packaging. It's a King Chrome, but any brand will do. And you can pick these up from your local hardware store. In Australia they're worth about $35. In the United States they're worth about $25. And here it is here. They normally come with a very pointed tip for marking metal, but all you have to do is get a file onto it or get your grinder and take it back to something nice and flat, just like this here. And an automatic center punch just creates a percussive force when you push it in. A bit of a click. Now we remove any remaining rivets in the top plate. You can see a rivet here. So all we have to do is get our auto center punch, apply it to one side, and then push until it detonates, and then come around from the complete opposite side, push again, and we'll just give it another click. And then we come in with some small side cutters, grab the rivet, squeeze, twist, and it's gone. It's as easy as that. To make things a little bit easier, all we have to do is work along the rows. Just click one side, work your way along, come back from the opposite direction, and then as soon as you finish the row, just get in there and give it a slight twist and pull them out. Pretty easy, pretty fast. You may get the odd stubborn rivet, and all you have to do is click it again on the left and right until it loosens up a bit, and then go back in for the twist. But as you can see here, most of these rivets are coming out quite nicely. And we are all done. All rivets are gone, not one left. Okay, we've flipped the MacBook over again. As you can see here, the screen is still intact, and that's because we flopped it over the end of the workbench. And we have the top case here, and while we have the top case here, it's easier to clean in between the keys now because obviously we have no keyboard. So let's give it a bit of a spray with isopropyl alcohol, get the old Scotch Brite out, and just give it a light scrub. Get rid of any gunk. Give it a little bit more isopropyl alcohol and give it some wipe down with some paper tissues. Get rid of any crap. Much easier to do this now before we put in the new keyboard. Right, we have our new keyboard here. This one we got off eBay. It cost around $36 Australian or $25 American. We've got it from eBay. So when you're searching on eBay, just make sure you get the keyboard for the right model number. So this covers the 1369 and the 1466. And just check the reputation of the seller on eBay. Make sure it's a good quality keyboard, and you can see that by having a look in the reviews. And we got this keyboard from Advanced Notebook Workshop here in Australia. So this will do the job quite fine. Okay, we've flipped our MacBook back over and we have our screen flopped over the end. And we have our new keyboard here. We just put this in its little home. Just wiggle it in, make sure it's locked in. And then we have our original screws here that go around the perimeter of the keyboard. So what we do is we get our little screws and we lock one screw in each corner. And then we work on our centers. So we'll put the center screw around here, here, two center screws here and center here. And this makes sure that the keyboard is evenly laid out in the X and Y direction. Now we have our keyboard evenly laid out, our screws in the corners and our screws in the centers. So all we have to do is put in all the rest of the screws. Now, because we have taken out over 60 rivets, we need screws to replace all those rivets. So you're going to need to buy some keyboard screws off eBay. And if you just put into eBay MacBook keyboard screws, they'll pop up and you'll need a little bit over 60, and they're only like a couple of dollars for, over 60, so, cheap as chips. Order those in, and then you can put in all the screws. Let's make a start. We are just putting in our very last screw. It's over 100 screws in this keyboard, so it's quite an effort. But the reason why we put in so many is to make sure the keyboard doesn't sag when the user's typing into it. That's our last screw done. The next part is we have our clear membrane here that goes on the back of the keyboard, and we currently got it in a solution of isopropyl alcohol. We're just giving it a quick rinse, just to get rid of any dirt and crap. And take note, this is isopropyl alcohol, so use it in a well ventilated area. And we'll give that a bit of a slosh around, just to clean it all up. Give it a bit of a shake. and we'll let that dry on the workbench. While that membrane is drying, we have to plug in the keyboard cable back into the mouse assembly. So just make sure that this connector is in the open position, so the bar's at the very top. And then we have to get hold of this ribbon cable and maneuver it into the plug. Give it a good old push. Can be a bit fiddly sometimes. And as soon as you're happy it's wiggled in, we get the bar and we pull it down into the lock position. Like that. And our cable's secure. Then we push our cable down and just gently put a nice gentle curve in that flex. And that's all done. Before we put the membrane on, we're going to reapply some double-sided tape, and this will go on the inner rows of screws on the keyboard. So we just stick this over the heads of the screws and just run our finger along. Cut them off. And this is our membrane adhesive, all reapplied with double-sided tape. So all we have to do now is peel it up. We have our membrane, it's all dry now and all clean. So all we have to do is put that on the back of the keyboard, and we have little locator holes here, 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 and over here. So we just have to apply our membrane and lock into those little locator holes. Once it's in position, push down and make sure it sticks to the back of that keyboard. We next have to apply adhesive, double-sided adhesive to our backlight. This is our backlight here. So we put that down on the bench, white side up, and then we apply our double-sided tape. After we've applied our adhesive to the backlight sheet, we peel all the backing off, and then we have to put our backlight sheet on the back of the keyboard. We have alignment lugs here, 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 and here. And the best way to do this is to align those two lugs first, fold the sheet down over those, and everything else should just flow into place. So let's give that a crack now. Now we have the sheet aligned. We make sure our LEDs are locked into their little home, the little lights, and then we push down the edge of the backlight and make sure all those tabs are nice and secure. Take note, if you have a slight tear in this backlight sheet, you can always apply some electrical tape, as we have up here, a short bit of electrical tape. Now all we have to do is put everything back together again. Right, we are complete with a brand new keyboard. As always, if you like the video, give it a thumbs up. If you like the content, subscribe or share. Also, don't forget to check out our social media. Other than that, thank you for visiting the MBK Upcycle Lab. Hooroo, and we will see you next time.